Right, what's up guys? So today we're going to go over the basics of creating a socket programming. So first step, what we want to do is we need to go over to DigitalOcean and we need to open up a server. So as you can see, I already created one here and this is the IP address. And we also need the PuTTY and PuTTY generator in order to set up our server completely. And I already done that as well. And so here's the important part, which is the Python coding. So there are two Python files that you need. One is the server file and the other one is the client file. So the server file, the Python server file will go to the server, of course, and the client Python file will go to the client's computer. Okay, so this part I'll be going over only for the server part. So stay tuned for the next part. So first step, we need to import the socket, because the socket is one of the ways to connect two devices together. And next one, we also have to import you need to use this function import SYS in order to connect to the CMD function in our Windows. And next, we have to create a socket, because this socket actually connects the two computers together. So this is the function, create socket function. So first we need to state the global variables, namely the host, port, and S, which stands for socket. So the host, we'll leave it empty, and the port will be 9999. So the reason we use port 9999, you could use any other ports, but 9999 is just not used that frequently. So if you use some other ports, you may risk of getting information from the company that's using that port. For example, there may be Netflix, there may be Facebook, there may be YouTube. So 999 is not used by any companies. Okay, so in a special case where there's error, so we use this extract, try, and accept function. So if there's any error, so we will print this socket creation error with the message on the CMD text. So this is just for precaution purposes. Okay, so moving on, we have the bind socket function. So this, as you can see, this binds the socket and it listens for connection. So same thing, we need to start with try, and we state all the global variables, and then we print. After we state all this, we need to print binding the port. So it will show on the CMD text. It will start to bind the port and the string for the port. So the port will be 9999. And then after this, we need to implement the function s.bind. So this actually binds the host and the client, and because sometimes there may be connection error, so we need to set up a certain time limit for that. So we use this s.listen and 5, so it will listen for 5 times before it goes to this function where there's an error, and it will print socket binding error, and we need to retry again. So that's why we have this bind socket here. So it will jump back, it will go over and over again until we establish a connection with the client. And moving on, we have the socket accept. So after listening to the messages, we need to get a function to accept the connection. So here we have con and address. So we put equal s.accept. So this is the function here, and we have to print after this. So if the connection is not established, which means let's say this command is not completed, it will not jump to the next command. So after the connection is accepted, we will print connection has been established, and we print the port number as well as the IP address. So and then we will jump to this next function, which is send commands, which I will go over in a minute. So it will jump to this send commands function, which we will start to send commands to the client's computer, and we have connection close here. Okay, so to close the command. So here's the send command function, and because we want to make sure that we are able to type at more than one commands without this function closing, so we need to use an infinite loop, which is while true. So this thing will run infinitely unless we break out of the loop. So while true, command equals input. So this is what we type into the CMD. So if CMD equals quit, so let's say we want to quit this infinite loop, so we need to set up this conditional coding. So if cmd equals quit, let's say we just type quit, then this connection will close, and we need to close the socket 2, and we need to exit the system. So this sys.exit, which we implemented here, import sys, is to close off the CMD windows after we type quit here. Okay, so next, we also want a function to prevent us from accidentally like implementing an unnecessary command, such as an empty command. For example, let's say if I go here to CMD, and let's say I just type enter, I wouldn't want the system to register this as a command. So if there's nothing, so the length of the command would be 0. So here I'll use the command if length of the string encoded the command is more than 0, then only it will execute it. So this is to prevent if there's anything happening. So here we have connection send, so we encode this, and since the data send and receive is in terms of bytes, so we need to use this function con.receive1024. so that's the format for the chunks sent over, and then UTF-8. Okay, this is just the format, and then we need to print the client's response, because let's say we type dir, where's my command? So let's say if I type dir, we get a bunch of information here. So this information, we need to store it inside the server. So here's the function for that, client response equals string connection receive 1024. So we need to store all that inside this variable here. And then we need to print this variable, and then this n equals quote unquote empty, there's nothing inside. The function of this is to skip another line here. Like we want, let's say after we type anything here, we want the line to jump to the next one. We want them to generate a new line in order to prevent errors from happening. Okay, so that's the function of this n function here. And now we have to define the main function, which is our overall function for this server Python file. So main function, we have create socket, we have bind socket, and we have socket accept. So as you can see here, create, bind, and socket accept. So the reason why we didn't write the send commands is because the send commands, the send command function is already existing inside the socket accept, so we don't have to write that. And then we have to type out main open and close bracket. So this will run our main function for this server Python file. So what we do is we just right click here, we run server, and rerun. So as you can see, the command starting to run, binding the port 999, which is here, this thing here. Socket, wait, sorry, it's, where is it? Yeah, this thing here. Okay, so there wasn't any error, so it's starting to bind with the port 999. But since we haven't really created our client file, so there's nothing much that we can see here. So stay tuned for the next video, and I'll see you guys later.